We're deep into the brunt of the summer 2023 season, and I'm pretty sure a lot of shows have caught your collective eyes. Whether they be hits that I was excited for entering the season, or some new contenders that caught my eyes as the season went by, summer 2023 has given us a healthy dose of new anime to enjoy. That's why I decided to put out my current seasonal list now. It's not the end of the season, and there are some more things that I could change once it's all said and done, but here are 10 titles that have caught my attention at a little over the halfway point. Let's open up with one of the shows I was excited about pre-season, Reign of the Seven Spellblades. Fantasy, magic, and academies have been a combination that I've enjoyed for quite a while now. However, I assume a lot of you has got quite a surprise with Reign of the Seven Spellblades, partly because of how much the series reminded everyone of Harry Potter. Seriously, the inspiration is there, down to the overall vibes and the characters feeling like composites. Regardless, it remains an enjoyable watch that hits a lot of the staple notes for a show like this. I enjoyed the fight direction in general, as well as the darker themes that you don't see as often with Magic Academy titles. As someone who spoiled himself with the novels, I know that things get way darker down the line, and it creates a nice balance with the vibrant atmosphere the art at times suggests. As usual with these novel adaptations, some parts leave more elaboration and development to be desired, but overall, it's not a bad show at all. Next up, we have Saint Cecilia and Pastor Lawrence. For the first in line of shows that I didn't tackle in my pre-season preview, here's Saint Cecilia and Pastor Lawrence. Oftentimes, when we get anime featuring the church or religious orders as themes, we often get the magical powers, the supernatural battles, or the more lewd sides of the coin. It's not too often that we get to see this religious setup executed in a more normal, wholesome way. There's a touch of the supernatural or two, as expected, but it's certainly a distant departure from what we've come to expect from anime priests and the like. Saint Cecilia and Pastor Lawrence is a slice of life title that's basically about showcasing the two main characters' daily lives and their feelings for each other. It is a really sweet show that takes a slightly slow burn approach, showing the audience the development of the main duo's love story in a gradual manner. Everything from the artistic touch and the music creates this heartwarming feeling that helps exemplify the themes of the story. Saint Cecilia and Pastor Lawrence is a heartwarming watch, and while it doesn't have the hijinks that something like a school rom-com has, it remains very sweet and fulfilling. At number 8, we take a look at Helck. If I were to speak from an anecdotal perspective, I'd say Helck is one of the more interesting shows this season in terms of reception. People I know flock to it due to the virtue of it being a fantasy show that's not an isekai starring the usual reincarnated salaryman. However, the story and world building for Helck has been pretty good in its own right, even without those enticers I mentioned. I like the direction it takes with the whole demons versus humans conflict, and it really juggles the goofy and serious aspects of the show excellently. The characters make for a fun cast when put together, and I can say that the anime team really showed their passion for the title with the way things look and sound. The latter really comes through with giving the show the feel it's going for. Sure, there may be mishaps with the animation every now and then, but it hardly bogs the whole thing down in my opinion, especially with a well-crafted story backing it up. 7th on the list is The Girl I Like Forgot Her Glasses. This show is something. Being a product of Studio Gohans, I should have seen it a mile away that they'd do something peculiar with the visuals of the show. With my key experiences with the studio characterized by shows like Kate and Capellion, it shouldn't have surprised me to see those hyper-realistic backgrounds that create a jarring contrast with the characters. Just a noteworthy thing that I'll preface before moving on to the story, which I can see the appeal of in its unique way. It's not too often that we see romance between a guy and an impaired girl, and while there are a lot of roads to take things up to 11 and exaggerate the premise, the show surprisingly takes a slower pace with everything. The comedy's there, but it's not exactly over the top in the way people typically expect. It's one of those slower rom-coms that tries to pull its appeal from the wholesome aspects instead of the super sweet or comedic moments. Overall, this is one of those middle-of-the-line shows in the season. Still enough to crack the top 10 for me with how much the anime staff tries, and it's also got its moments.
いや、弾けるわけないし、そんなわけないし。もっと 予想だにしない意味で言ってるかもしれない。
The masterful cat is depressed again is our next show.
ごめんね。
So, here's another surprise for you. An episodic show that gives us a warm story of people's relationship with pets might do the trick for you. But I didn't exactly expect a show like this to get the level of quality it got from the anime team, boasting some great visuals and animation. It's a way to catch everyone's attention at the start of the show, and you'll get hooked further with the super enjoyable interactions between our main characters. It isn't a completely new concept, since it did remind me of Senko-san or Kobayashi in terms of overall vibes, but watching this show remains very enjoyable. It's a slice of life and doesn't have much of an overarching story, but it's one of the shows that doesn't need that. It's something more down to earth, more wholesome. Isn't it funny how I've used that to describe half of the shows that I've talked about already? But really, that's the energy being radiated by a lot of the anime this season. In spite of the title, the show looks good and makes you feel good too, and it's a chill offering if you give it a try. Before we continue, let me ask you this. Have you ever seen an anime advertisement that really got your interest, only to find out that it doesn't stream in your country? Trust me, I understand this feeling very well. So make sure you're making every cent you pay worth it with ExpressVPN. You see, one of the neat things about ExpressVPN is that it can actually bypass geo-restrictions by letting you change your online location to wherever you want. I've personally been using it to watch the new Jujutsu Kaisen season on Netflix. All you have to do is open up ExpressVPN, click on the India server, and boom! You can now watch some Gojo action on Netflix. ExpressVPN also encrypts your internet connection and protects your online data from potential threats. If you think that's all, well, too bad, you're wrong. ExpressVPN has a vast network of servers optimized for speed. By connecting to a server near your location, you can reduce buffering and enjoy a smoother streaming experience while watching anime. So say bye-bye to the time wasted waiting for your favorite anime shows to finish loading. If you're interested, then why not give it a try? Find out how you can get 3 months free by clicking the link in the description box. That's expressvpn.com/ViniTube. Now, back to the video. Dark Gathering is up next. And we finally exit the chill zone and look at one of the more unnerving titles this season has to offer. Dark Gathering, if you can remember from my pre-season videos, is one of the titles I was looking forward to for this season. And as far as I can tell with the episodes I've seen so far, Dark Gathering's anime manages to capture the spirit of the manga, giving us one hell of a horror anime. Whether Dark Gathering succeeds to be scary is up for debate. People have different standards with this thing. However, one thing that I can speak for most people is that the show does nail one thing right, and that it gives us a sense of unease. It's an art I saw prominently featured in something like Promised Neverland, where the horror isn't about the blood, the violence and all of that. It's all about the atmosphere and how the mood can swing from relaxed to completely unsettling in just a click of a finger. With horror being an unrepresented genre in the modern anime sphere, I really welcome Dark Gathering, especially in its core execution of the themes and the feel it wants audiences to have. Undead Girl Murder Farce is the 4th ranked title for this season. These Victoria-era mystery shows do have a charm, don't they? With some popular hits like Vanitas, Black Butler and the like, it was interesting to see how Undead Girl Murder Farce would hold up. To me, I think it's got some good elements from its predecessors that ultimately gave anime fans a nice mystery/detective show to follow this season. First off, I do think that the music and the way things were drawn really hit the mark in terms of capturing the intended ambiance for the show. Then, combining mysteries with the supernatural proves to be a winning formula, and this one manages to captivate me through and through. Backed by strong characters and puzzles that people can indulge themselves in, Undead Girl Murder Farce is the season's underrated winner. I don't see a lot of people talking about the show much, but that's also likely due to the mystery genre being not so popular. Still, for people who like to get themselves into the genre or veterans who are craving more, this show is a welcome addition to the season. Opening our top 3 is Rurouni Kenshin. The world of legacy anime remakes can be hit or miss. I largely praised Hunter x Hunter for nailing it, but more often than not, we get rather mediocre remakes like the newest Shaman King. It's not like these shows are intolerably bad, but a lot of times, in their rush to be more faithful to the original in the limited time that they have, the shows lose some of their soul, if you get what I mean. Thankfully, this year's Rurouni Kenshin managed to give us a great experience while showing us a story that's closer to the manga. At the very least, the characters retain their characterization and give off nostalgia for long-time viewers. Those who've watched the original Kenshin would get a strong sense of familiarity at those characters and events while getting a new experience seeing them in action. I'd say for the newcomers to the series that while the first parts aren't bad, Rurouni Kenshin's story hits its peak in the Shishio arc, so that's something to look forward to. I do have to admit that I felt initially a little bit lukewarm towards the series. I did welcome it. It did feel quite unnecessary in the grand scheme of things. Having watched more of it though, I'd say that the execution of this remake isn't that bad at all. It lets those of us from the 90s see the good old characters and events from childhood anime in a new light. That's quite a treat to watch. At number 2, please welcome My Happy Marriage. An intriguing addition to this season's lineup is this novel adaptation, one of the strongest ones in fact. How? My Happy Marriage is a show that doesn't mince words with how it comes at you with some dark and depressing themes, but along with them, it shines some packets of light that evoke hope and happiness. If you've noticed that I've just talked about emotions, it should help you prepare your mindset in taking a dive into this show. This mix of themes is where the anime's more traditional source material becomes more evident, and it does give anime fans a one-of-a-kind watch for this season. All of that framed with the historical backdrop and the stunning art, and you've got something that a lot of people who aren't even into anime can greatly appreciate. Everything comes together to give a very immersive experience about love and hope in the midst of darkness. My Happy Marriage is by far the most artistic amongst the summer 2023 anime, if we're going to be looking at the more traditional sense of art. It looks very beautiful, and it will surely take you through a whirlwind of emotions.
本当にミオが無事でよかった。
Finally, we end with what I feel is the best non-sequel of the season, Zom 100. Zom 100 came in with an impact that I frankly didn't expect to see from a zombie apocalypse show. Sure, the story's interesting and so are the characters, but what really drove the anime community is the animation. Cinematic would be a good way to describe how the entire thing looks, and if there's anything we've learned from the big hits of the past years, production quality could be the difference maker that would allow a good anime to break through the glass ceiling and become the talk of the town. Just ask Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen fans. In addition to that, I'd also give some mentions to what makes Zom 100 a hit. The setup with the characters feels like something a lot of the audience can resonate with. The feeling of just toiling away in a directionless path before a once-in-a-lifetime apocalypse reinvigorates you and gives meaning to your life does seem like a theme that to differing extents we can all relate to or even wish for. All that bundled with a thrilling ride that's more about the survival and excitement instead of the horror of a zombie apocalypse, and you've got the recipe for one of the most promising big hits of summer 2023. It's easy to brush aside as yet another zombie flick with a new gimmick attached, but experiencing it yourself does give you a show that almost immediately sucks you in and straps you down for a very fun ride. And those are my picks for the best non-sequels for summer 2023. Let me see what you've had to say in the comment section down below, and don't forget to shout out your favourite titles from summer 2023. I hope you had a great time watching this video, and I hope that you can also check out the other videos on my channel and discover something that you might like. Thanks for watching, and I wish you a good day ahead of you. See you next time.